As of today, March 16th, we're still awaiting a spring practice date for the USC Trojans, but we will talk Trojans with Matt Lowry from Conquest Chronicles on the SB Nation platform for USC. And of course, like the videos here. If you enjoy the content, then share the videos out on social media because other ones out there will as well. Please subscribe here at our Voice of College Football channel as well. Matt, how you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Again, as you mentioned, we're waiting on a date for spring football. Typically, it's out by now, but as you know, I know Cal so far, from what I've seen, have released a date. But outside of other Pac-12 schools, including USC, I haven't seen anything quite yet. But we're they're still working. We're still waiting, and I know now that everything's in order, well, somewhat in order, we're all ready to go.
Well, even during what's been a down decade for USC football, the offense has typically been explosive. Excellent quarterback play, explosive running backs, and typically one of the best wide receiver cores in the nation. But the one thing that has hampered the offense at times against quality defenses has been the offensive line has not been what it was under Pete Carroll. Elijah Vera Tucker is getting a lot of attention from NFL scouts. As we talked about before we started to record, he may go as high as the first round. He's gone. How does the rest of the offensive line shape up for 21?
Well, USC is going to be returning just about everybody from the offensive line from last season. But it's a huge loss when you lose Elijah Vera Tucker, who was by far your best offensive lineman on the team. So it's huge when you lose him. It's very huge. Now you gauge something by getting the rest of your guys back. You get Brett Nealon back at center. You have Liam Jimmons, Andrew Voorhees, Jalen McKenzie. Those are guys who started on your offensive line, including you have depth. You have a lot of depth at offensive line as well. You have Casey Collier, Cortland Ford, Justin Dedich, Jason Rodriguez, and Frank Martin. Now it's a matter of, can you get them to perform, a lot better than what they did last year? Because last year, Keaton Slovis took a lot of hits, and the run game was kind of shaky. If I could say that.
So with the offensive line and some of the pieces in place, shaky last year, but you said 4 out of 5 starters back, some considerable depth. Now, are those players that are gaining some experience, guys that were highly recruited? Is there hope that this could be one of the best units in the Pac-12?
These are guys who were highly recruited. These are guys, and here's the thing with USC, I don't want to say they always, but they tend to pull in quality offensive linemen. They always bring in quality offensive linemen recruiting wise. Now, why they don't perform well, we don't know. A lot of people say it's coaching. Well, USC ended up changing that. They end up bringing on Clay McGuire, who is their new offensive line coach, who is very familiar with the air raid. Someone who might fit that, that scheme, who might fit that scheme that USC is running. Clay McGuire, who obviously he coached at Washington State. He was with Graham Harrell. At Washington State. The two spent time together there. So, I mean, hopefully it could be potentially that USC's offensive line could be better this season, especially now that they have somebody that fits the scheme. Whether they'll be better, that's a wait and see type of thing. It's one of those, we have to see how everything goes.
Seems as though most of the activity in the transfer portal is settled. There still will probably be some transfers, but most of that activity seems to be ceasing over the last several weeks, and no offensive linemen have transferred to USC. I'm running down also, Matt, the 2021 list. Out of the 5 early enrollees, we've got no offensive linemen. Then if you go down the letters of intent, meaning the guys that have signed that'll step on campus in the summer, that's another 17 players. And the top recruits aren't along the offensive line. Mason Murphy is the 28th rated offensive tackle out of California. He will be on campus this summer. And then you also have a guard in Ty Buchanan, 40th rated offensive guard in the country out of Texas. So most likely they won't need to contribute this year, but two offensive linemen, but nobody really highly rated in this 21 class. So they're going to have to go with what they've got.
Right. And what a lot of people have to keep in mind is that all the depth on the offensive line right now, and some of the starters, they're still young. They're going to be either redshirt freshmen or redshirt sophomores. So USC still have a mix of guys who have playing experience, as well as some, I guess you could say, some youth on that offensive line that they could coach up, that they can help mold. Now, that again, it all boils down to coaching on that line. We don't know what Clay McGuire could do with this offensive line. We don't know what he can, we don't know what he'll bring, but I mean, you're hoping that he brings a lot of positive things for this USC offensive line, a unit that struggled not only in pass protection but in run blocking as well, and a group that was kind of undisciplined at times too.
Their recruiting class there in 2020, I'm looking at right now, was rather small, extremely small, with only 12 signees in 2020. But four of them, might be the reason that they were a little bit light on offensive linemen here in 21. Four of them offensive tackles, five of them offensive tackles, and then they picked up a guard as well in Jonah Monheim, who was their second highest rated player in the class, to Gary Bryant Jr. So they certainly went that route, and those would be guys that didn't really step on the field here in 2020 that might be ready to contribute with a little more seasoning here in 21.
Correct. That and you're hoping that they can step in and produce right away if need be.